Do not rush past these words. For a moment, let everything else fall away. You have been living as if life hands out possibility by permission, as if some unseen gatekeeper decides when you are allowed to rise. But hear me carefully. You are the one who decides, and the world waits for the tone you set within yourself. There is a reason your greatest desires flicker through your mind at night and return in the quiet hours of the morning. They do not appear to tease you, but to summon you. They do not mock you. They measure you. Every dream you carry has been placed there because you are meant to decide whether it lives or dies. Most men shrink at this truth. They prefer to believe that possibility is external, selective, rare. That fortune chooses a few and ignores the rest. But nothing could be further from the law that governs achievement. Possibility expands for the man who acts as if it already belongs to him. It shrinks for the man who doubts, hesitates, and bargains with fear. Think of the quiet moments in your own life, the mornings when you wished for a different existence, the days when you felt the weight of untapped potential pressing against your ribs. You were not imagining that pressure. You were being reminded that every limitation you cling to was learned, not assigned. And whatever is learned can be unlearned. Before you hear anything more, consider this. If nothing were impossible for you, truly impossible, how differently would you think this very moment? What would you dare to attempt? What would you declare? What would you demand of yourself? Let that question rise like a flame in your mind, for it holds the key to every door you have not yet opened. Stop waiting for proof. Proof is the final stage of faith, not the beginning. You cannot receive confirmation of possibility before you act. The world reveals its resources only to the man who moves. The timid demand evidence before they believe. The strong act as if the evidence were already delivered. The tragedy is not that men aim too high and fail. The tragedy is that they aim low and succeed. You were not built to survive your days. You were built to command them. Yet you have been trained to live cautiously, to keep your dreams in the realm of imagination rather than expression, to wait for a sign instead of becoming the sign. Hear this, you are the cause, not the consequence. When you act as if everything is possible for you, you rearrange your inner world, and your outer world follows like a shadow that cannot disobey its source. For the man who stands with certainty, resources appear, helpers emerge, ideas multiply, the path clears. Not because of magic, but because of law. Let me ask you something. How many times have you silenced a desire before it could take shape? How many times have you compared your future to someone else's past and convinced yourself that the heights you dream of are reserved for those of better fortune? How many times have you lowered your expectations to avoid disappointment? Every one of those moments carved a small prison inside your mind. But today that prison's door swings open. Possibility does not belong to the gifted. It belongs to the willing. It belongs to the man who decides that he will walk as though nothing is beyond his reach, because in his inner world it already isn't. The man who acts as if greatness is his birthright attracts the opportunities that prove him correct. When you carry yourself as though you were designed for exceptional outcomes, the world tests you, but it also obeys you. It bends, it shifts, it accommodates the one who refuses to be confined by average expectations. The world is not moved by hope. It is moved by the man who steps forward as though the outcome is already assured. You have seen this truth in the stories of great achievement. The men who changed the world did not wait for conditions to favor them. They moved while others hesitated. They advanced while others doubted. And by their advance, they forced life to reveal possibilities that would have remained invisible to the timid. Now turn inward. Think of the vision you carry, the one you seldom speak aloud because it feels too large, too unreasonable, too ambitious for the life you have known. That vision is not too large. Your thinking has been too small. The moment you act as if that vision is attainable, you align yourself with the power that has elevated every great fortune ever built. Possibility is not a distant reward. It is a present command. You must assume the posture of the man who can achieve it long before the world confirms it. You must think, speak, walk, and work as though the outcome is fixed. Only then does the world begin to reorganize itself in your favor. But understand this: acting as if everything is possible is not pretending. It is deciding. It is declaring. It is organizing your mind with such definiteness that doubt finds no place to inhabit. It is the refusal to negotiate with fear, the refusal to accept conditions as permanent, the refusal to live at the mercy of chance. Ask yourself now, what would change in your life if, for the next year, you acted as though every goal you carry were already yours? What work would you do? What habits would you build? What conversations would you initiate? What excuses would evaporate the moment you believed you could not fail? Most men drift for decades because they cannot imagine themselves as the source of possibility. They bow to limitations they never examined. They obey fears that were handed to them by smaller minds. They forget that life imitates the man who dares to command himself. But you are no longer that man. Not after hearing these words. Act as if everything is possible for you, and the world will reveal possibilities you never suspected. Act as if the outcome is certain, and uncertainty will collapse. Act as if you have been chosen for greatness, and greatness will search for you. Your life begins when your thinking changes. Your thinking changes when your identity changes, and your identity changes the moment you decide that nothing is beyond your reach. Now listen closely. What comes next will show you how to anchor this certainty so deeply within yourself that doubt cannot survive its presence. Let every word that follows become a command to the world you are about to build. Every enduring creation begins as an idea believed in before it takes shape. Every structure that reaches into the sky was first held upright in thought. The principle of assumed power declares that form always bends to belief. The man who waits for evidence delays destiny. The man who walks in conviction commands it. The unseen world moves for those who move first within themselves. Possibility never appears to the uncertain mind. The timid wait for signs that success is possible. The courageous assume it is already theirs. When the mind accepts this posture, energy gathers around its decision. Mountains shift because thought has taken root as law. Faith is the evidence unseen, the organizing pattern of all that is yet to be built. Before any enterprise stands in stone or steel, it exists as silent architecture in thought. Every empire of commerce was first a private vision. Bridges, machines, fortunes, all were blueprints of conviction drawn in the invisible. To act as if means to think as if first. A thought nursed with certainty becomes an order given to the universe, and the universe obeys. There is no magic in achievement. There is law. When belief hardens into fact within the imagination, the outer world begins its construction. The unseen serves the definite. The man who establishes his certainty builds a mold in the ether. Events pour themselves into that mold until result appears. This is why faith is the seed of evidence, not its result. Consider a man who stepped from a freight train one morning with worn clothes and empty pockets. He carried no introduction, no plan, no wealth, only an inner decree that he was to become the business associate of a great inventor. Others saw a vagrant, he saw partnership. That belief was his only capital. Within 5 years, he was indeed a partner, and his name was Edwin C. Barnes. Barnes possessed nothing but an idea of himself. He refused to think of employment, he envisioned alliance. His thought was definite, his assumption unwavering. Each day he carried himself as one already trusted by the master of invention. Opportunity appeared in answer to his self-concept. He demonstrated that position is not granted by chance, but assumed by conviction until it becomes visible. This law shows that self-image governs the boundaries of destiny. A man can rise no higher than the idea he holds of his own worth. Thought is the compass of circumstance. One who believes himself subordinate to fate will find himself ordered about by it. One who believes himself designed for power will soon bear the responsibilities of command. Those who speak of luck reveal ignorance of law. Fortune is not random favor, but the obedience of events to definiteness. There is no accident in the rise of strong men. Their certainty arranges conditions as the magnet arranges filings. The uncertain call it luck because they cannot trace the invisible sequence of cause. Yet the sequence is fixed: belief first, result after. To live under this law is to treat every day as the rehearsal of mastery. Speech must match intention. Posture must mirror confidence. Decision must be swift, for hesitation leaks power. Each morning is to be entered as though one were already the successor to greatness. The mind, body, and conduct must align in authority. The world interprets these signals as evidence of capacity and responds accordingly. Definiteness gives direction to invisible forces. Without it, energy scatters into indecision. The disciplined mind speaks its purpose aloud and thus commands its faculties to serve one aim. A chief aim clearly spoken gathers resources unseen. Every repeated declaration chisels the image deeper into the subconscious, which then orders behavior to make it real. Faith without speech is incomplete. To proclaim the purpose aloud is to register it with one's own intelligence. Words spoken with conviction become commands to the inner world. The echo of these commands returns as courage, as endurance, as ideas at the needed hour. Thus, daily autosuggestion is not wishful recital, but mental organization. Imagine again the man of belief walking through a factory or a market. Others sense certainty, though he utters nothing of ambition. His presence carries quiet assurance. Partners extend trust, doors open. They are not responding to charm, but to law. Confidence felt inwardly is transmitted outwardly. Those who meet it feel safe to cooperate. This is how social perception shifts when inner mastery is assumed. Great builders and inventors have always carried this aura. Thomas Edison often spoke as though his inventions were already complete, while his assistants still struggled with failures. His calm authority was the magnet drawing ideas from the unseen. Each obstacle obeyed the command implicit in his faith. It shall be done. The universe cannot resist the tone of certainty. Assumption is not pretense. Pretending imitates form without conviction. Assuming establishes conviction until form complies. One deceives the senses, the other instructs them. The man who pretends merely hopes to be believed by others. The man who assumes convinces himself first, and the world follows. The difference between play acting and power is sincerity of belief. Every thought held with persistence becomes character. Habit of belief carves grooves in the mind through which energy continually flows. As these grooves deepen, action becomes natural, and results repeat themselves with ease. This is the origin of the saying that success breeds success. Habitual assumption creates habitual victory. When the inner pattern is definite, the outer cannot differ from it. A merchant who holds himself as prosperous conducts his trade with dignity and exactness. Customers sense stability and respond with loyalty. Another merchant, fearing loss, bargains and apologizes until loss is assured. Both prove the same law. The outer mirrors the inner. Repetition of belief builds the structure of certainty. Each time a man holds fast to his vision amid contrary evidence, he strengthens the bridge between thought and reality. Weak men withdraw their faith at the first difficulty. Strong men press belief deeper until it roots beneath circumstance. Persistence in assumption converts temporary defeat into raw material for triumph. There exists a rhythm in this process, the pulse of faith asserting itself through every setback. Every disappointment asks the same question: do you still believe? Those who answer yes with action pass the test that precedes enlargement. The world will always challenge assumption, not to destroy it, but to refine its purity. To live by the law of assumed power is to live without bargaining. The mind no longer petitions fate, it issues decree. One ceases to ask, will this happen? And begins to declare, it is happening. Such mental discipline abolishes hesitation and releases immense energy for work. Energy no longer divided by doubt rushes wholly toward expression. There is dignity in certainty. The man who knows his direction does not compete with others, he proceeds. The man who doubts searches for approval and wastes years. One is propelled by inner command, the other restrained by outer influence. Society eventually crowns the first because conviction is leadership made visible. History's great achievements testify to this law. Napoleon Bonaparte, before commanding armies, spoke and walked as one born to command. His belief drew men who recognized themselves in his certainty. Whether one approves his aims or not, the principle remains. Life bows to the confident assumption of authority. Every man may exercise this same law within his chosen field. The craftsman who treats his work as masterpiece before it earns applause becomes master. The speaker who believes each word already persuasive finds audiences compelled. The student who acts as if understanding is inevitable learns faster than one who studies with doubt. When assumption is complete, fear has no foothold. Doubt may knock, but it finds no open door. The mind, organized around a definite image, rejects contradiction as a healthy body rejects poison. This mental immunity is faith in maturity. It is the invisible armor worn by all who accomplish the impossible. Let the thought be repeated until it becomes conviction. Power precedes evidence. Success is not achieved and then believed. It is believed and then achieved. The order cannot be reversed. Every man walking the earth today is surrounded by the harvest of his own previous assumptions. His environment is the reflection of his inner decree. To correct circumstance, correct assumption. If poverty appears, change belief about wealth. If isolation persists, change belief about worthiness of companionship. The external will rearrange as surely as a mirror reflects a new gesture. This is not speculation, but the mathematics of mind. Each morning offers the opportunity to renew this posture. Stand tall, breathe with assurance, and let the mind rehearse its certainty. Speak the chief aim aloud until it vibrates with emotion. Every act, from the smallest decision to the largest enterprise, must proceed as though success were already guaranteed by law. An affirmation of this truth engraves it deeper. I already possess the power to achieve all I desire. Faith is the unseen evidence. The world now organizes itself around my certainty. Such repetition is not vanity, but discipline. The subconscious, hearing command after command, begins to act upon them without question. It influences tone of voice, decision, and endurance until conduct becomes prophecy fulfilled. Others will sense the transformation before words announce it. They will observe steadiness where there was hesitation, quiet strength where there was uncertainty. Opportunities will appear because confidence attracts cooperation. Even resistance changes nature, serving to strengthen resolve. The world reorganizes itself around the mind that has organized belief. The principle can be witnessed in any field. The leader who assumes his men will follow and shows them purpose is followed. The teacher who assumes students will learn teaches with vitality and sees comprehension awaken. The physician who assumes healing is possible ignites faith in the patient. The same invisible law operates through all. Let it be understood. What a man consistently assumes, he becomes. Thought held with persistence is destiny in progress. This is the law of assumed power, the unseen architecture of every triumph known to history. Those who master it cease to ask for permission from life. They declare purpose and move. Life, recognizing its commander, obeys. And thus the path is set. Faith first, evidence later, assumption first, manifestation after. All who live by this order rise beyond the reach of limitation, for they have discovered that possibility itself is but belief made visible. The conquest of circumstance begins with conquest of self. Before a man can rule his trade, his fortune, or his destiny, he must learn to rule his own mind. Dominion within is the throne from which all outer order is governed. Without this throne, ambition becomes confusion, and talent turns to waste. Self-mastery is the foundation of all achievement that endures. Most men live as servants to their moods. They rise when inspired and sink when discouraged. They move when praised and halt when criticized. Their energy depends upon weather, gossip, or the opinions of others. Such a man cannot act as if everything is possible, for he has not yet acted as if he rules himself. To be master of one's fate, one must first cease to be the servant of emotion. The law of controlled attention demands allegiance. Whatever the mind continues to dwell upon grows. Thought, like water, nourishes whatever seed it feeds. If the mind clings to fear, fear becomes habit. If it dwells upon purpose, purpose becomes character. The disciplined man guards the gates of his attention as a king guards the treasury, for he knows every wandering thought spends his strength. Discipline does not mean repression, it means direction. The river becomes powerful only when channeled. So it is with the mind. Scattered emotion evaporates. Concentrated emotion drives engines. The man who chooses what he will think and feel and when possesses the rarest of freedoms, the freedom to command himself. There once lived a young mechanic who worked in a dim shop, surrounded by doubt. His fellows mocked the simplicity of his dream, to build a motor vehicle that the ordinary man could afford. They told him it was folly. Even his own engineers later declared that the machine he envisioned could not be built. Yet he replied simply, "Build it anyway." That sentence became a declaration of inner dominion. Years later, the world called him Henry Ford. Ford's secret was not machinery, but mental government. He ruled thought as firmly as he ruled his factories. When others surrendered to the impossibility of design, he remained fixed upon certainty. This calm authority over doubt drew men of skill to him, and their cooperation multiplied his power. Such is the reward of one who governs himself. The world yields to the self-governed. The inner war is fought daily and silently. One part of the mind urges advance, another whispers retreat. Desire longs for greatness. Fear demands safety. These opposing forces exhaust the man who has never established clear command. Dominion begins when the ruler within silences rebellion. Desire, faith, and will must unite under one purpose, moving as a single army toward definite victory. Conflicting desires divide strength. A man who wishes to prosper yet secretly believes wealth to be corrupt has issued two opposite orders to the subconscious. His efforts neutralize themselves. Discipline requires examination of every belief and emotion until all are made loyal to purpose. Only then does thought march in step with action, and success becomes inevitable. Daily conduct is the training ground of dominion. Guard the tongue, for speech is the herald of thought. Idle words betray a wandering mind. Gossip and complaint advertise inner weakness. The self-ruled man speaks only to advance peace, order, and his definite aim. He chooses companions of faith rather than cynicism. He protects imagination from contamination by negative conversation. Imagine a worker among many who labor at molten steel. While others quarrel and shout, this man keeps silent. He listens, decides swiftly, performs calmly, and refuses to be drawn into quarrels. Months pass, and his supervisors notice that confusion vanishes when he is near. Confidence surrounds him. In time, he is chosen to direct the very men who once mocked him. Thus, a quiet laborer became Charles M. Schwab, commanding the empire of steel. Such transformation follows every act of self-control. Calmness is more than virtue. It is signal of mastery. Employers, investors, and partners instinctively trust the man who remains composed under pressure. His poise assures them that he can bear responsibility. The nervous and excitable repel opportunity, for opportunity seeks steadiness. Dominion, once established, communicates itself without speech. The mind must be trained as the body is trained. Each negative thought is to be recognized, examined, and replaced. The act of substitution is exercise for the will. When a thought of fear appears, replace it with a declaration of courage. When doubt whispers failure, replace it with affirmation of success. This practice strengthens authority within until obedience becomes automatic. Write down recurring thoughts that disturb peace. Confront them as disloyal subjects in the kingdom of the mind. Demand their allegiance to faith. Repetition of this exercise transforms habit. What was once involuntary fear becomes instinctive confidence. Discipline is the steady hammer-shaping character from raw emotion. Emotion itself is not enemy but servant. Properly governed, it fuels faith. Uncontrolled, it destroys direction. The wise ruler does not banish passion, he directs it. Enthusiasm for work, loyalty to ideals, and love for humanity are emotions lifted into service. Anger, envy, and self-pity are passions gone astray, wasting strength in rebellion. Self-dominion restores them to usefulness. Controlled attention converts time into treasure. An hour of focused thought is worth more than a day of distraction. The average man lives divided among trivialities. His mind wanders before it begins. The disciplined mind completes one thing at a time with total presence. Such attention becomes magnet for ideas. Infinite intelligence reveals its secrets only to minds that listen wholly. The habit of order must extend beyond thought into environment. Surroundings reflect the inner state. A disordered desk, a neglected appearance, or a delayed correspondence are symptoms of internal confusion. Every detail placed in order reinforces the principle of control. When the outer life mirrors inner precision, energy flows without resistance. Dominion must also extend to time. Hours are capital more valuable than gold. Each should be invested according to plan. The undisciplined man allows trivial interruptions to steal his fortune of hours. The master spends time only on acts that advance his purpose. He understands that time is life in motion, and he guards it as treasure. From this discipline arises a tranquil confidence that cannot be feigned. Others may not understand its cause, yet they feel it. In meeting the self-governed man, they sense that no crisis could shake his equilibrium. His word carries weight because he speaks from order, not impulse. People naturally entrust leadership to him, for leadership is but visible dominion. Self-discipline and faith are allies. Each sustains the other. Faith without discipline drifts into fantasy. Discipline without faith becomes mechanical. Together, they form the perfect balance of vision and control. The man who combines them is unstoppable, for he possesses both inspiration and endurance. Consider again the mechanic who became an industrial monarch. He met ridicule, shortage of money, and failure of parts. Yet never once did he permit the vision to waver. His imagination ruled the conditions, not the reverse. He acted each day as though success were already established. Such is the fruit of discipline joined with faith, persistence that no obstacle can exhaust. There exists a silent authority that emanates from self-rule. It is not loud nor boastful. It is the calm assurance that whatever must be done can be done. This authority is felt by subordinates and superiors alike. It invites confidence and commands respect. The disciplined mind becomes a living demonstration of order, inspiring the same in others. To cultivate dominion, begin each morning with mental rehearsal. Before engaging the world, set intention for conduct. Decide how the mind shall respond to events, what emotion shall dominate, what words shall be spoken. This forethought becomes armor against confusion. The day that begins with direction ends with accomplishment. The exercise of dominion continues even in solitude. When the world is silent, the inner court must still be governed. Meditation upon purpose, gratitude for progress, and calm review of action strengthen the bond between ruler and realm. Neglect of this inner counsel allows the old habits of chaos to return. The greatest men in history have displayed serenity amidst storms. Lincoln, beset by war and criticism, retained humor and patience. Carnegie, surrounded by vast responsibilities, remained composed under pressure. Such men practiced the art of inner rule. They were not born with calmness. They cultivated it until it became armor none could pierce. The man who rules himself is beyond manipulation. Praise does not inflate him, blame does not deflate him. Success does not intoxicate, failure does not poison. He moves by principle, not by impulse. To live thus is to live free. This freedom is the crown of discipline, the true reward of mastery. No riches can compensate for slavery to impulse. Many men gain wealth only to become prisoners of appetite or vanity. Their fortunes rot because the ruler within was never crowned. The wise seek first dominion over self, knowing that all else follows naturally. Wealth held by an undisciplined mind is danger. Wealth held by a disciplined mind is blessing. Self-control in thought extends to speech, speech to action, action to destiny. Therefore, each idle thought may become a chain, each controlled thought a key. He who chooses his thought chooses his fate. Dominion is the art of deliberate choosing, practiced until automatic. This is the highest education, the training of the mind to obey the will of purpose. Let the student remember that self-rule is not achieved in a single effort, but through continuous application. Each moment presents a new occasion for mastery. Every irritation is a lesson in patience. Every temptation, a chance to strengthen will. The discipline of inner dominion is lifelong, yet every step forward yields immediate peace. As mastery deepens, energy once wasted in emotional turmoil becomes available for creation. The mind, once scattered across many trivial fears, now directs all force toward achievement. This concentration multiplies efficiency. Work that once required days may now be done in hours, for the disciplined mind moves without friction. There is majesty in order. When thoughts align, emotions obey, and actions follow, the individual becomes a center of power. Circumstances arrange themselves around him as planets around a sun. This is not poetry, but law. Harmony within produces harmony without. Affirmation strengthens this law's hold. I am master of my emotions, ruler of my habits, and commander of my fate. My thoughts obey my will, and my will obeys my purpose. This declaration, repeated with feeling, imprints the pattern of government upon the subconscious. Soon the faculties of mind respond instinctively to direction. The thinker becomes sovereign over his kingdom. Others will witness the change before he does. They will note steadiness under trial, precision in word, and dignity in bearing. They will trust his judgment because it springs from clarity. The disciplined man becomes refuge for the confused. His presence brings confidence to weaker spirits. The man who cannot govern himself is not fit to command riches or men. Dominion within is the first throne of success. Only from that seat can orders be issued to the outer world. Fortune and opportunity are loyal servants, but they obey only the mind that rules itself with justice and strength. Thus ends the second law, the discipline of inner dominion. Through it, possibility becomes obedience, chaos becomes order, and the individual ascends from drift to direction. The man who rules himself stands already halfway to ruling his destiny. Power unused decays. The mind that knows what must be done but never moves becomes a graveyard of intentions. The law that governs success demands motion. Thought must express itself in deed, and faith must prove itself in action. To act as if is to set the body in harmony with conviction, to make belief visible in conduct before proof appears. Possibility reveals itself only to motion. Every advance in civilization was born of a single step forward, taken while others stood waiting. The act of movement, no matter how small, creates a current that gathers strength. Once the current flows, unseen help appears, coincidences align, and opportunity seems to meet the traveler halfway. Most men destroy their power by hesitation. They wait for clearer signs, for perfect timing, for permission from others who doubt as they do. The man who would master destiny moves before conditions are favorable. He understands that favorable conditions are the result of movement, not its cause. The law of certain movement declares that action is the proof of faith. When thought and movement combine, miracles of progress unfold. Consider a young preacher with a vision of building a college where poor youth could receive higher education. He had no funds, no backers, not even the land upon which to build. Yet he resolved to speak publicly of his purpose, declaring he would obtain $1 million for that institution. Within a week, a wealthy benefactor stepped forward, saying, "I believe in your purpose. Here is the money." Thus, Dr. Frank W. Gonzalez discovered that action made faith tangible. His sermon did not create money from thin air. It created movement in minds. The act of declaring intention with certainty invited participation from others. The law of motion worked through the energy of decision. When a man moves with faith, he transmits that faith to all who observe him. Life aids the one who dares to begin. In contrast stands the multitude of dreamers who delay. They plan, discuss, and perfect their schemes until opportunity dies of neglect. They imagine success, yet never enter the field of battle. Meanwhile, bolder men, less informed perhaps, but more decisive, seize the rewards. The difference is not in intelligence, but in the habit of immediate action. Every man must face the paralysis of analysis. To conquer it, he must form the habit of movement without endless debate. Decision is the spark that ignites power. Doubt and caution have their place, but they must be servants, not masters. Once the purpose is defined and desire burns clear, hesitation becomes treason against destiny. Certainty grows through repetition. Just as muscle strengthens with use, faith strengthens through continued motion. Each day devoted to purposeful action ingrains the habit of progress. The law of cosmic habit force then takes hold. Repeated acts form grooves in consciousness through which energy flows without effort. The man who moves daily toward his aim becomes unstoppable because habit now carries him forward. Many complain that inspiration deserts them. Inspiration is not lost. It is earned through motion. The mind, like a wheel, resists at first, but turns easily once momentum begins. Start moving toward the goal even when enthusiasm is low, and enthusiasm will return as movement gathers pace. Motion is the cure for inertia. A story illustrates this law. A young clerk worked in a small store where business stagnated. Each evening he remained after closing, improving displays, recording sales data, devising better methods. He was not paid for this labor, but he acted as if he owned the store. Within months, customers multiplied. The owner, noticing his initiative, made him a partner. That partnership later grew into a chain of prosperous establishments. The law of certain movement rewards the man who acts beyond duty. Acting beyond payment or recognition is not martyrdom, it is foresight. Service rendered without demand for reward prepares the way for reward greater than expected. When one works as though success were already secure, success must eventually appear to justify such confidence. The universe does not allow sincere effort to remain unacknowledged forever. The difference between a laborer and a leader often lies in motion. Both may possess knowledge, but the leader moves while the laborer waits for orders. Motion transforms potential into command. The world respects the one who begins. History remembers initiators, not imitators. To move with certainty requires mental rehearsal. Each morning envision the day's acts completed successfully. walk, speak, and labor as though the outcome were predetermined. This posture strengthens decision and weakens fear. The body becomes an instrument of faith, broadcasting conviction to the environment. Every step forward shortens the road of uncertainty. Action clarifies what thought alone cannot. The man who begins, though imperfectly, discovers through experience what improvement requires. Meanwhile, the thinker who waits for perfect conditions learns nothing. Knowledge grows through engagement, not speculation. There is a rhythm to persistence. The same act repeated with purpose does not dull, but sharpens ability. A blacksmith strikes the same spot again and again until iron yields. Likewise, daily repetition of decisive acts bends circumstance to will. Repetition is not monotony. It is mastery through rhythm. Habit of movement also conquers fear. Fear thrives in stillness. It starves in action. When attention is fixed on performing a definite task, the mind has no room for anxious imaginings. Courage grows each time movement replaces paralysis. Confidence is not the absence of fear, but the domination of fear through repeated motion. Faith that never moves remains self-deception. True faith demands expression. Every decision unacted upon weakens belief, while every action taken strengthens it. The man who moves with purpose need not see the entire path. He trusts that the next step will appear as he advances. The light of faith shines only upon the step directly before the foot. The same law governs all enterprises. The inventor who begins experiments without certainty of result eventually stumbles upon discovery. The writer who writes daily, regardless of mood, completes books while others speak of ideas. The salesman who approaches one more prospect each day turns average effort into excellence. Small actions performed with persistence awaken dormant power. Life is governed by movement. The stars themselves wheel through the heavens in ceaseless order. The sea advances and retreats. The heart beats. The seasons change. Everything alive obeys rhythm. Stagnation is death. The man who aligns his habits with life's rhythm becomes part of its creative flow. The law of quick decision amplifies power. Great leaders decide firmly and seldom change except when new facts demand it. Indecision breeds inner conflict and exhausts energy. A definite decision unites all faculties of the mind toward one purpose. From that unity arises strength. A single decision has turned many destinies. When a young man resolved to stop accepting excuses for delay, he found himself suddenly promoted. When another resolved to save 1/10 of every dollar, he escaped debt forever. Each decision, acted upon at once, becomes a new law governing future behavior. Decision is the parent of progress. The world honors the man who acts. When others see unshakable purpose expressed through work, they respond with support and respect. Investors back him, friends assist him, even adversaries acknowledge his determination. Action radiates authority. The man who moves as though success were certain commands attention from the timid who secretly wish they had his courage. Movement generates knowledge of its own. Plans improve only after execution begins. The architect refines design while building. The merchant adjusts strategy while selling. Waiting for perfect clarity before acting is like waiting for calm seas before learning to sail. The skill develops only through participation in the waves. To adopt this law, begin with small, deliberate acts of purpose. Complete every promise made to oneself, however trivial. Finish the letter left unwritten, the plan left half begun. Each completion builds momentum. The smallest finished task releases more confidence than the grandest unfulfilled intention. Persistence converts temporary defeat into victory. When setbacks arise, maintain motion even if progress seems invisible. Often the obstacle is not blocking the path, but shaping strength for the next ascent. The man who keeps moving transforms resistance into resource. Failure becomes fertilizer for future growth when digested by continued effort. Many of history's triumphs were preceded by a series of apparent defeats. The difference between the ordinary and the extraordinary lies in persistence beyond the first discouragement. The habit of certain movement forbids surrender. Each morning reaffirm the principle of motion. Each day I move with purpose. My action confirms my faith. I work as though success were already secure, and it becomes so. Repeat this declaration until movement becomes instinctive. The subconscious mind, trained by repetition, propels action even when enthusiasm falters. Momentum then carries the worker forward as the current carries the ship once sails are set. Consider the mason laying bricks for a cathedral he may never see completed. Each brick seems insignificant, yet taken together they form monument and legacy. So it is with daily effort. Every task performed with certainty contributes to structure unseen until suddenly achievement stands complete. The perception of others changes as this habit matures. The man of action becomes a magnet. Leaders seek his counsel. Opportunities cluster around him. His reliability is known. His word becomes bond. The idle admire him, though they seldom admit it. The universe, observing his steadiness, entrusts him with larger responsibilities. Some imagine repetition dulls the spirit, but it sharpens it. Mastery is repetition perfected. The musician plays scales until they sing unconsciously. The craftsman repeats strokes until his hand moves like nature itself. So too the achiever repeats decisive acts until success becomes as natural as breathing. Motion demands rest at intervals, yet even rest can serve purpose. True rest is not idleness but renewal, a deliberate pause to regain rhythm. The law of movement does not forbid stillness. It forbids stagnation. There is a difference between resting to gather strength and ceasing out of fear. The rhythm of faith resembles the beating heart, contraction and expansion, work and renewal. The wise learn to move in harmony with this rhythm, trusting that persistence, not haste, completes every creation. Continuous forward direction, even at modest speed, accomplishes more than frantic spurts followed by discouragement. Every step forward carries invisible authority. Each act of certainty impresses the subconscious with the message, I am a finisher. Over time, this belief shapes identity. The man who once doubted now sees himself as one who completes. His entire bearing changes. Procrastination loses hold. Many ask for motivation before acting. They misunderstand the law. Motivation comes after motion, not before. Inspiration follows participation. Begin, and the fire returns. The athlete warms himself through movement, not contemplation. Likewise, achievement ignites once effort begins. The universe seems to reserve its richest rewards for those who take the first step without guarantee. The moment a man acts with faith, unseen forces align. He meets the right person, hears the right idea, stumbles upon the needed resource. What the world calls coincidence is merely the visible effect of invisible coordination responding to movement. Those who refuse to move remain surrounded by possibilities they never see. Opportunity hides from the motionless, for it respects energy. The man who acts, even clumsily, stirs life itself. His mistakes teach, his experiments reveal, his failures direct. Movement, not meditation alone, unlocks wisdom. The habit of certain movement liberates from regret. Action leaves no room for if only. Each day fully used closes with satisfaction. The disciplined actor sleeps in peace, knowing he has met life's demand for motion. The idle drift into restless dreams, haunted by the specter of what might have been. In all endeavors, remember this: results belong to the mover, not the waiter. The universe rewards the worker who acts in harmony with faith. Thought gives direction. Movement gives substance. Without motion, thought decays into fantasy. Without thought, motion becomes chaos. The union of the two creates power. Thus the law stands proven through experience and history alike. Act as if success is certain. and success grows certain by obedience to that assumption. The habit of motion born of faith transforms potential into reality. The man who continues moving despite delay or doubt will one day look back to find that every obstacle was only a milestone marking progress. And when that day comes, he will understand that faith was never meant to stand still. It was meant to walk. No man ever rises in complete isolation. The mind that assumes it can prosper alone denies the very law by which all creation operates. Nature itself is a symphony of cooperation. Root with soil, bee with flower, sun with earth. The law that sustains a seed through the seasons is the same that sustains success through the union of harmonious minds. This is the science of invisible alliance. Invisible alliance is more than companionship. It is the joining of energies toward a definite aim until a power greater than either individual is born. When two or more minds blend in perfect understanding, a third mind arises, the mastermind, through which infinite intelligence expresses itself. This is not poetry, but scientific law. Mental vibration multiplies when harmonized. Andrew Carnegie mastered this law better than any man of his generation. He began not as an iron lord, but as a telegraph boy with a single belief, that cooperation could outproduce competition. He gathered around him men of knowledge, engineers, organizers, and salesmen. He sought not to know everything, but to unite those who knew. Through his alliance, steel conquered the world. His secret was not metal, but minds in agreement. The unseen power behind such cooperation cannot be weighed or measured, yet it reveals itself in results. When faith and enthusiasm unite several individuals, thought moves faster, ideas become contagious, and courage increases. Doubt cannot live in the atmosphere of harmony. The weakest member grows strong, and the strongest becomes inspired. This is the chemistry of thought in motion. Invisible alliance operates through both visible and unseen partners. Among the visible are trusted companions, mentors, and associates. Among the unseen are forces of infinite intelligence that respond to definiteness of purpose. When a man sets his mind upon a clear aim and surrounds himself with loyal minds, unseen allies join the circle. Ideas arrive, coincidences multiply, and unseen doors open at precise moments. Thomas Edison understood this science instinctively. When he spoke of invention, he described ideas as if they waited in the ether for a receptive mind. He worked in faith that inspiration was inevitable. His laboratories were not merely workshops, but centers of mental harmony. Assistants who entered there found themselves inspired to effort beyond their usual ability. Edison acted as if the invisible alliance were already established, and so it was. The same law governs lesser enterprises. A farmer who works in faith with soil and season receives abundance. A teacher who believes in the capacity of his students awakens genius in them. A merchant who treats customers as partners draws their loyalty. Cooperation begins in the mind, long before it appears in action. To act as if others will assist invites them to do so. Envy and suspicion break the circuit of this law. To resent the success of others is to cut the wire through which prosperity travels. Admiration and goodwill, on the contrary, extend the current of supply. When one regards the accomplishments of another as proof of what can be done rather than as a threat, he places himself in the line of progress. Transform envy into study. Instead of saying he is lucky, ask, what quality of thought produced his success? Every success leaves tracks for the observer of law. By understanding the mental causes behind achievement, one enters into silent cooperation with those who have already obeyed them. Study is invisible apprenticeship. Invisible alliance also includes the partnership between conscious thought and the subconscious mind. The conscious plans, the subconscious executes. When the two work in harmony, power becomes limitless. Faith is the language that unites them. Doubt confuses communication. Faith makes command. The mind that trusts its own decree sends orders clear enough for the subconscious to act upon without error. Consider again the builder of empires. Carnegie did not instruct every furnace or calculate every rail. He held a definite image of the industry organized under one great plan. That image was impressed upon his chosen men and through them upon thousands more. Each worker, knowingly or not, labored under the influence of that central purpose. Invisible Alliance had multiplied one vision into countless acts of cooperation. This law extends beyond human connection into the realm of infinite intelligence. There exists a universal mind from which every thought, idea, and plan proceeds. The definite purpose acts as a key that opens contact with this higher intelligence. When thought is clear, motive pure, and will steady, ideas of tremendous value flash into the conscious mind seemingly from nowhere. Yet they come from the one source of all ideas. Faith is the magnetic field that attracts such inspiration. A doubtful mind repels it. Infinite intelligence requires belief as the channel of communication. The man who works in expectation of guidance receives it. The man who labors in fear closes the gate. Faith tunes the mental instrument to the frequency of wisdom. All progress in art, invention, and leadership has been the result of such tuning. The Wright brothers were not the first to dream of flight, but they believed air could be mastered, and the unseen laws of lift revealed themselves through their experiments. They acted as if success were inevitable, and through that assumption invited the cooperation of forces no eye could see. The science of invisible alliance also governs personal magnetism. The mind broadcasts its dominant vibration as surely as the wireless sends waves through space. When a man lives in faith, enthusiasm, and goodwill, he becomes a living magnet. People feel at ease near him. They wish to cooperate. Conversely, the mind steeped in fear or envy radiates repulsion. The world's response is a mirror to one's mental signal. The individual who walks in this science realizes he is never alone. He senses the presence of unseen assistance even in solitude. Plans form easily. Intuition guides each step. When obstacles appear, solutions arise from within or arrive through others at the needed moment. The alliance is invisible yet practical. It manifests through results. To cultivate this state, begin by forming clear mental alliances with the greatest minds of history. Imagine their counsel in moments of decision. Ask, how would Lincoln act with patience? How would Edison persist? How would Carnegie plan? This imaginative conference stimulates the same qualities within oneself. The subconscious, receiving such images, begins to act accordingly. Many have dismissed this practice as mere fancy, yet those who use it know its power. The mind, properly directed, cannot distinguish between actual and imagined counsel. It obeys the pattern impressed upon it. Therefore, to associate mentally with greatness is to invite greatness into conduct. Thought creates company according to its kind. In every undertaking, harmony is the first requirement. Discord among partners cancels power. Two men of equal ability working against each other accomplish less than one average man working alone. But when purpose and spirit unite, effort multiplies. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and the same is true of any alliance of minds. To maintain harmony, motives must be clear. Greed, jealousy, or vanity poison cooperation. Service, faith, and loyalty purify it. The leader who inspires devotion does so by sincere interest in the welfare of others. His associates feel his goodwill and respond with the same. Invisible alliance cannot function through pretense. It demands sincerity. There is a higher aspect of this law, communion with infinite intelligence through silence. In quiet meditation upon one's definite purpose, the mind receives impressions, hunches, and flashes of understanding. These are messages from the universal source of ideas. The disciplined thinker records them, acts upon them, and gives thanks. Gratitude keeps the channel open. The man who studies this science soon discovers that ideas themselves seek expression through those who believe in them. Each new plan or invention is a living seed desiring manifestation. It selects its instrument, the mind most prepared by faith and definiteness. By acting as if assistance is already granted, one becomes eligible to receive these ideas. Doubt disqualifies, belief qualifies. Affirm daily the principle of alliance. I am never alone in my work. The right minds and right ideas flow to me because I expect them. My faith unites me with power beyond measure. Such affirmation reorganizes the mental attitude from isolation to participation in the universe of minds. Gradually, the individual begins to notice evidence of cooperation everywhere. Conversations bring insight. Books open to the needed page. Chance meetings deliver opportunities. Nothing is accidental to the man who lives by this law. Even adversity becomes a partner in disguise. Temporary defeat often forces the discovery of greater methods. When plans fail, the invisible alliance has not deserted. It is redirecting. The wise recognize this correction and adjust without resentment. Trust converts misfortune into miracle. There was once a young salesman who approached his work with constant fear of rejection. His results were poor because clients sensed his anxiety. One day he resolved to change approach. Before each visit, he pictured every customer as friendly and willing, as though goodwill already existed. Within weeks, his sales tripled. Acting as if harmony existed produced harmony. Thought changed relation. Relation changed result. The same principle lifts leaders above mediocrity. Those who assume cooperation receive it. Those who expect opposition invite it. The mind's expectancy molds experience. To believe in assistance is to command it. Life becomes a network of allies, waiting to serve definite purpose. Through the science of invisible alliance, even the humblest worker connects with the power of genius. The cook who prepares food with love contributes to the health of nations. The clerk who serves with cheerfulness spreads prosperity he cannot measure. Each mind that vibrates with goodwill strengthens the entire structure of civilization. To practice this science, one must cultivate humility, faith, and gratitude. Humility keeps the ego from obstructing flow. Faith keeps the channel open. Gratitude ensures continued supply. Together, they sustain connection with the unseen benefactors of success. The world of matter is but the shadow of thought. The alliances that shape nations and industries begin as invisible agreements among minds attuned to a common vision. When these minds act as one, the shadow world must reflect their harmony. There is no limit to the power of men united under spiritual law. Each evening, review the day and acknowledge every instance of cooperation received. Each kind word, helpful idea, fortunate coincidence. Thank the unseen order that arranged them. This recognition deepens faith. The next day will bring more such evidence, for gratitude multiplies supply. The man who walks with this awareness radiates quiet confidence. People feel drawn to assist him without knowing why. His presence carries the atmosphere of harmony, which is success in embryonic form. The air around him seems charged with possibility. This is the mark of one who understands the science of invisible alliance. The mind that assumes harmony with infinite intelligence never experiences true loneliness. In the silence of planning, it hears guidance. In the heat of struggle, it feels unseen strength. In the moment of victory, it acknowledges that no success is solitary. Such a man becomes an instrument through which the unseen works visible wonders. The closing principle of this science is simple yet profound. Every alliance begins within. Harmony in the heart creates harmony with men and with the infinite. To the degree that one thinks peace, he attracts peaceful cooperation. To the degree that he thinks faith, he draws faithful partners. To the degree that he thinks abundance, he joins the company of abundance. Thus the science of invisible alliance stands proven. Life itself conspires with the man who moves in faith and goodwill. His friends seen and unseen multiply, his plans mature, his path clears. He is never alone, for he has entered partnership with the highest intelligence and the noblest minds of time. The final stage of power is not action alone, but transformation of being. Success is not merely what a man does, it is what he has become. The law of fulfilled identity teaches that every result flows from identity accepted in thought. One cannot rise above the image held within. The outer world is nothing but the echo of self-concept spoken daily through conduct, feeling, and faith. All growth follows one rhythm. Becoming precedes receiving. A tree becomes before it bears. A man becomes before he possesses. Every goal, every dream, every vision waits not for effort, but for alignment between inner belief and outer act. To act as if everything is possible is to accept the identity of one who already lives in that possibility. A poor farmer may dream of wealth, yet think as a pauper. His effort becomes drudgery. Another may still be poor in circumstance, but rich in conviction. His conduct carries the air of future prosperity. In time, conditions yield to the second man, not the first. The world does not pay for labor, it pays for consciousness expressed through labor. When thought, word, and deed are joined in one conviction, the individual becomes an irresistible force. The law of fulfilled identity is therefore the completion of all preceding laws. Assumed power gave direction. Inner dominion gave order. Certain movement gave momentum. Invisible alliance gave multiplication. Now all must merge into one identity, being the success itself. Identity is not declared once, but rehearsed daily until belief hardens into instinct. Each repetition of purpose, each act of faith, each victory over doubt is a stroke carving the statue of character. The man who repeats, "I am success in progress," is not deceiving himself. He is instructing the subconscious to build that pattern into reality. A profound illustration rests within the story of a child born without the ability to hear. The world pitied him. Physicians declared the condition hopeless. Yet his father refused to accept limitation. Instead of teaching resignation, he taught possibility. He spoke to the boy's faith, telling him repeatedly that he possessed a marvelous inner power through which he could one day hear. The boy believed. He learned to read lips, to feel vibrations, and later, through inventive aid, to hear music and speech. That boy was Blair Hill. His triumph over silence was not miracle. It was identity fulfilled through faith. Every limitation begins as self-definition. The mind quietly whispers, "I am not enough," and the body obeys with fatigue, hesitation, and small results. Replace that definition with certainty. I am capable, deserving, and guided. An energy rushes to meet the command. The subconscious does not argue. It creates according to the pattern impressed upon it. Identity is therefore destiny. As a seed contains the complete design of the oak, so every thought of self contains the blueprint of life's unfolding. The seed does not strain to grow. It expands naturally into the form predetermined within. Likewise, the man who assumes greatness within unfolds it without struggle. Effort becomes expression rather than strain. The world honors those who seem unshaken by circumstance because they live from inner completion rather than external dependence. They do not perform success, they embody it. Their speech carries certainty, their eyes reflect assurance, and their presence reminds others of their own potential. Such influence is identity radiating beyond the self. Every man must decide whether to live as echo or as cause. The echo reacts to fortune. The cause creates it. The echo adjusts to environment. The cause shapes it. The echo waits for recognition. The cause grants it to himself through action. The transition from echo to cause marks the birth of a fulfilled identity. Many labor tirelessly, yet remain trapped in small results because their self concept contradicts their ambition. They strive outwardly while doubting inwardly. They act rich while thinking poor, lead publicly while fearing privately. This division drains power. The law of fulfilled identity demands unity, inner image and outer effort joined as one. The practice of this law begins with imagination. Picture vividly the man capable of your highest aim. How does he walk, speak, and respond? What habits govern his hours? What standards guide his choices? Then begin to live by that image. At first, it may feel unnatural, as a new garment feels stiff, but repetition will make it comfortable, then natural, then inevitable. When a man truly identifies with success, even adversity becomes a servant. Every challenge is interpreted not as punishment, but as refinement, not as barrier, but as exercise. Faith transforms defeat into training. The man of fulfilled identity sees obstacles as sculptors shaping his character into finer strength. History records countless examples of this transformation. A Scottish boy, frail and bookish, dreamed of conquering worlds. He studied strategy while his peers played. He carried himself with command before he commanded anyone. Later, armies followed him with devotion rare in history. The world named him Napoleon Bonaparte. Before he led men, he led imagination. The process is the same for every dreamer who becomes doer. Begin by accepting the role inwardly. The student who behaves as scholar becomes one. The clerk who works as executive prepares the seat he will one day occupy. The artist who paints as if his work already influences nations soon will. The world aligns with identity fixed through conviction. Daily autosuggestion is the tool by which identity solidifies. Speak aloud with emotion. I am the cause of every effect I desire. I already am the man who succeeds. My outer life now aligns with the image I hold within. Such repetition is not flattery, it is discipline. Every statement spoken with feeling writes a line upon the subconscious. Eventually, these lines compose a new autobiography. Gratitude accelerates the process. To thank life for blessings not yet visible is to declare them already yours. Gratitude is the language of completion. The man who thanks before receiving demonstrates faith perfect enough to close the circuit between thought and manifestation. Infinite intelligence recognizes gratitude as the final seal upon belief. Act now for 90 days as though every goal were already achieved. Dress with dignity, speak with conviction, plan with assurance. Let no complaint escape the tongue. Record progress nightly, not to measure distance from the goal, but to confirm closeness to identity. Within those days, the habit of fulfilled living will begin to take root, and results will start to reflect the new self. Others will notice change first. They will sense assurance where uncertainty once lingered. Some will respond with admiration, others with confusion, for the world always reacts to transformation. Yet persistence in the new identity will silence resistance. Eventually, environment conforms as surely as shadow to shape. The man who once begged for opportunity now attracts it. Employers, friends, and investors feel his steadiness and wish to partake of it. They cannot explain why, but they trust him. Authority flows from him naturally because certainty is the soul of leadership. He no longer seeks approval. He grants it through competence and vision. Repetition of right thought forms new neural pathways within the brain. But more than physiology is involved, it awakens the law of cosmic habit force, which hardens patterns of thought into permanent tendencies. What begins as conscious effort becomes unconscious nature. Just as a child learns to walk until walking requires no thought, a man learns success until success becomes instinct. The transformation may seem slow, but it is sure. One day the individual awakens to find fear no longer familiar, hesitation foreign, and doubt irrelevant. The new identity, fully formed, rejects the old reflexes as a grown tree rejects the shell of its seed. There is no struggle in this. The new self simply lives according to law. Consider the inventor who spent years refining a mechanism most deemed impractical. He imagined daily a world transformed by his device. He endured poverty, ridicule, and failure, yet his identity as creator never wavered. When at last success came, the world hailed him as a genius named Alexander Graham Bell. He had lived for years as the man who had already succeeded. His invention merely caught up to his conviction. Fulfilled identity does not require arrogance. True assurance is quiet, serene, and generous. The man certain of his worth feels no need to prove it by force. His calm becomes a shelter for others, his confidence an invitation to growth. Power without humility decays. Power joined with humility endures. To remain grounded, remember that every identity is sustained through service. Wealth, fame, or authority unconnected to usefulness collapse. The man who sees himself as benefactor of many finds purpose deep enough to justify every blessing. His identity becomes larger than self. It becomes instrument of progress. This law also refines perception of time. The man who lives from fulfillment no longer hurries. He understands that results appear at appointed seasons. He works diligently but without strain, knowing the harvest obeys its own rhythm. Impatience belongs to those who doubt completion. Peace belongs to those who already feel it. Fulfilled identity also transforms relationships. The confident attract the confident. When one walks as though guided by divine purpose, others feel safe in that presence. Trust and respect grow effortlessly. Even those of lesser faith borrow courage from the one who carries it. Influence flows naturally to the self-assured. Let not temporary setbacks persuade against this law. Identity once accepted cannot be annulled by circumstance any more than daylight can be banished by a passing cloud. Continue to think, speak, and act from the higher self. In time, the storm clears, and the true outline of destiny appears brighter for the contrast. When fatigue or doubt whispers, return to affirmation and gratitude. Repeat silently, I live already in the success I seek. Then act from that conviction. Movement performed in this state renews energy rather than depleting it, for identity fuels perseverance. The man who knows who he is never tires of expression. The closing proof of this law lies in its fruits. Those who live by it develop serenity beyond understanding. Material gain may fluctuate, yet inner richness remains constant. They no longer chase results, they radiate them. Every word, gesture, and deed carries the authority of completion. They have become the living embodiment of the truth that nothing is beyond reach. At this summit of understanding, the chain of laws completes itself. Assumed power began the march with belief. Inner dominion trained the troops of thought. Certain movement carried them through battle. Invisible alliance supplied reinforcement. Fulfilled identity raises the standard of victory and proclaims that the kingdom has come within. Nothing more is required. The man who becomes his desire has already won. He walks not toward success, but from it. He speaks not of possibility, but of certainty. His faith has matured into fact, his dream into law, his thought into being. The world follows his example as water follows the shape of its vessel. Let this proclamation close the journey. Nothing is beyond the reach of the man who becomes his desire in thought, word, and act. He does not wait for proof. He is the proof. His every breath testifies to the eternal decree of success, that the image held within determines the world without. Such is the law of fulfilled identity, the final command of mind over matter, the crowning revelation of faith, and the living evidence that to act as if everything is possible is to awaken to the truth that indeed nothing is beyond your reach.